You're listening to
Catholic Sprouts,
the daily podcast for Catholic kids that strives to plant seeds of faith.
Hey there, Sprouts. Today is Thursday, January 9th, 2025. Today is also the feast day of St. Adrian of Canterbury. My name is Avery Hiscock, and I am the owner and designer at Angelico Design Co. I'm thrilled to be with you this week on the Catholic Sprouts podcast, where we are discussing saints who were also royalty. Today, we're going to talk about one of England's most beloved kings, St. Edward the Confessor. So get ready to hear about this holy man who led with kindness and faith. Edward was born in 1003 in a small village in England called Islip. Edward grew up in a very challenging time. Viking raiders often attacked England, forcing Edward and his family to flee to Normandy for safety. Can you imagine what it would be like to leave your home because of danger? Edward lived in Normandy for many years, learning about faith and kindness from the monks that he spent time with. He promised God that if he ever became king, he would dedicate his life to serving others and to being a good ruler. In 1042, Edward's chance came true. He returned to England and became the king. But Edward wasn't like other kings. Instead of focusing on power and riches, he focused on helping his people and growing closer to God. That's why he's called the Confessor, which means someone who shows great faith and love for God without being a martyr. Edward ruled wisely and kindly. He was known for being fair, forgiving, and generous. He helped bring peace to England during a time when many kings before him had been at war. People loved him for his gentle nature. One of the things that made Edward special was his humility. Even though he was king, he didn't live a life of luxury. He wore simple clothes, he spent much of his time praying, and shared what he had with the poor. People admired him because he cared more about serving others than about being powerful or rich. One of Edward's greatest achievements was building Westminster Abbey, a beautiful church in London. He wanted it to be a place where the people could worship God. Today, it's still one of the most famous churches in the world. But what really made Edward holy was the ways that he showed his faith. He loved to pray, and he gave generously to the poor. People even believed he could perform miracles. One story tells us that while at Mass, Edward saw a vision of Jesus in the Eucharist. Imagine how amazing that must have been. There's another famous story about St. Edward. One day while traveling, he met a poor man who asked for help. Edward gave the man his ring as a gift. Many years later, Edward had a vision of St. John the Evangelist, who revealed that he had been the poor man in disguise. He told Edward that God was pleased with his kindness and that he would soon join him in heaven. Isn't that incredible? Edward passed away on January 5th, 1066, just a few days after Westminster Abbey was finished. He was buried there, and soon after his death, people started telling stories about his holiness and miracles. In 1161, the Church declared him a saint. His canonization was based not only on the miracles he performed during his life, but also on miracles that people experienced when praying to him after his death. Today, St. Edward is remembered as the patron saint of kings, difficult marriages, and Westminster Abbey. His example teaches us that true greatness comes from humility and kindness, not through power or wealth. Even though he lived almost 1,000 years ago, Edward's life still inspires us to live with faith and love. So Sprouts, what can we learn from St. Edward the Confessor? He teaches us that being a leader doesn't mean being the strongest or the richest. It means serving others with love and humility. This week, think about how you can be a leader like Edward. Help a friend, share something with someone who needs it, or take a moment to pray for peace in your family. That's all for today, Sprouts. Thanks for listening to the Catholic Sprouts podcast. Don't forget to join me tomorrow for our last day of learning about saints who are also royalty. Until then, keep growing in holiness, and remember that God can use each of us to do amazing things, just like he did with St. Edward.
That's it for Catholic Sprouts today. We'll be back tomorrow, but until then, continue to grow in your faith and truly sprout into the beautiful creation that God created you to be.
I'm Avery Hiscock, Catholic wife and mother, and owner and designer at Angelico Design Co. I've always loved creating, and after becoming a mom to little kids, I started designing Catholic kids' activities and gifts to help families like mine grow in faith and love for Jesus. At Angelico Design Co., we offer Catholic busy books, adorable saint swaddles, kids apparel, and easy, low-stress printable activities to support liturgical living, designed to make learning about the saints and our Catholic faith fun and meaningful for little ones, and stress-free for us parents. My shop is named after Blessed Fra Angelico, a Catholic artist who poured his faith into his breathtaking works, inspiring me to try to do the same with my creations. If you're looking for creative ways to nurture your child's love for Jesus and the saints, check out Angelico Design Co. on Etsy. Visit us at angelicodesignco.etsy.com or follow on Instagram at Angelico Design Co.
This podcast is part of the Spoke Street Network. For more great podcasts, visit spokestreet.com.